Slam Dunk is a Japanese sports manga written and illustrated by Takehiko Inoue about a basketball team from Shohoku High School and mainly focusing on its protagonist, Hanamichi Sakuragi. Breaking his own record for his 50th rejection from a girl who prefers a guy from the basketball team, Sakuragi immediately felt strong hatred towards the sport. All these changes when he meets Haruko, a basketball fanatic who compliments his height and physique, saying that it's fit for basketball. Seeing it as a chance to get closer to her, Sakuragi claims to love the sport despite having no basic knowledge of it, and even going as far as joining the basketball team. And that's when Sakuragi's high school life takes a huge turn. In 1994, Slam Dunk was awarded the 40th Shogakukan Manga Award for Best Shonen Manga. With over 120 million copies sold in Japan alone, it is one of the most successful manga to date. The impact of Slam Dunk is cited as an influence in the increased popularity of basketball among the Japanese youth during the 90s, the same time as NBA's popularity was reaching new heights. The influence of the manga was even recognized by the Japanese Basketball Association in 2012, awarding Takehiko Inoue a special commendation for his contribution of the sport's popularity in their country. So why was this particular sports manga gained so much success and influence that it continues to hold a spot as one of the best sports manga of all time? This, of course, cannot be answered by a single reason. The manga was brought to life by Takehiko Inoue, known for its realistic art, easy-to-follow sequences, memorable facial expressions, and well-built, tension-filled scenes which became more and more evident as the manga reaches its final arc. Adding to this is the journey of Sakuragi, as we see him evolve from being a hot-headed, genius-claiming, center-for-laps idiot on the court and selfishly doing it to gain the affection of his crush into someone who eventually grows to love the sport and becoming an essential part of the Shohoku team to reach the championships. The manga also explores different players' motivation as to why they play basketball, the differences of talent and perseverance, and the stakes each player are willing to take to reach their goals, all for the love of basketball. Let us explore how Slam Dunk took Japan and the world by storm by analyzing the way Inoue crafts and tells his story, engages us through his art, and makes us reread and love the manga whether we play basketball or not. Much like watching an actual sports event from a television, the game is shown through a variety of camera angles. It does a wide shot, close-ups and extreme close-ups of the players' expressions. We get a view from the bench and the audience, and of course, highlighting a winning shot through slow motion and showing it to us through different angles to create bigger impact. This is interpreted into manga through speed lines, detailed action scenes, panels that build tension, and the cinematic style framing that can easily be understood by the readers. Let's break down the first hurdle on Shohoku's way to the championships, Shoyo, as we take our first look on how Takehiko uses different shots to fully give us the experience of being in the court. As the whistle blows and the game officially starts, we are given a wide view of the court and players' positions. The next panel shows the reaction of Sakuragi's friends on this particular lineup, comparing Shohoku's heights to that of Shoyo's. And by the next panel, we clearly see Sakuragi struggling as he is being guarded by Takano. We then see a full page of the jump ball, one of the first main action of the game, and immediately followed by a close-up of the players' reactions, following the direction of the ball on who will get it, thus inciting the page flip, and jumping right away to Sakuragi as he catches the ball, and then switching back to the audience's reaction. On the last page of this chapter, we see Ryonen's Uozumi comment on Akagi's play, telling the readers that it's not like him, adding further context to their performance. By switching from different perspectives of people during the game, the readers build their own assessment to how the game will play out. We have comments from experienced players, coaches explaining the lack or advantage of each team, the audience with their biased opinions, and of course, the players during the game itself. Before the reader could know it, he or she already understands how the game works by letting us in the thoughts of not just the players, but those who watch them as well. As we move towards the end of the game, the panels are fewer but bigger, indicating a slower pace, longer time but holds more weight, and there's less narration from the outside perspective. Just like the players, we are more focused on what happens on the court as the time trickles down. This is not to include all the other elements thrown into the particular game. We see the players' banters on the court adding comedic flair. Some chapters even focus on a single player, adding more depth and drama, making the payoff even more gratifying by the end. One of the most notable aspects of Inoue's art, particularly in Slam Dunk, is his use of expressions. In Making Comics by Scott McCloud, he describes expressions as something we can't understand easily compared with words. They're a compulsive form of visual communication all of us use. Almost any story can be evaluated by its ability to provoke emotion in the reader, and there's no stronger conduit to your reader's emotions than through the emotion of the characters you create for them. Inoue combines realism, simplification, exaggeration, and even symbolism in Slam Dunk, switching these graphic strategies to fit the narrative and the tone of the scene. Just like any sport, players' expression, either in victory or loss, is the audience's first-hand glimpse of their feelings and something that they could relate to. We can see their fatigue, the adrenaline, the confidence and the focus, the calm, the anger and the relief, the shock, the look and sound of victory, the silence of a loss, and the tears. Again, allowing the readers to fully immerse to the story and the characters, no matter how big or small their role is. Combine this with clear body language and you get a living, breathing character on the court even only through the pages. Slam Dunk, at its core, is not just a sports manga. It's a coming-of-age story that puts the spotlight on these teenagers as they go through their journey of reaching their goals and having these moments of glory, but still grounding it on a realistic approach. We have Hisashi MITZI, who fell into self-hatred after getting injured and directing this anger towards the Shohoku basketball team. He then gets his redemption as he goes back to the court, but not without the consequence of losing his former stamina, something that has been evident throughout all his games. As the captain of Shohoku, Takenori Akagi's dream has always been to reach the Inter-High. Although he considers himself as one of the best centers by defeating the teams prior to Sano, Akagi receives a wake-up call, also through Wuzumi, that he has to accept his loss to Kawata as a center, but not to lose to them as a team. Fukawa's obsession with greatness made him the great player that he is, taking the attention of everyone every time he plays, yet even with this, he completely struggled as he faced Sawakita, a guy of insane bright future who managed to hold him down in the majority of the game between Shohoku and Sano. After recalling the conversation he had with Sendo about their difference and why Sendo is still better than him, Fukawa finally realized his potential as a team player and aiding his team into catching up with Sano. Even in the final shot where he could have proven to everyone that he is the best player in that game, he chose to pass it to Sakuragi, the player he never vocally praises or physically shown to rely towards to take the winning shot. And then we have Sakuragi, who initially got into basketball to impress his crush Haruko and eventually ended up loving the sport as well. Despite dismissing basketball as something so easy, Sakuragi struggled to show the kind of genius he perceives himself to be in the court during the first few games. Slowly, he began to allow himself to be guided to further unlock his potential. We're with him as he gets his first layup, jump shot, slam dunk, and his rebounds. We even get a glimpse of Sakuragi finally seeing the beauty of his own form when he watched a video of himself training for his 10,000 jump shots. A quiet moment where I think Sakuragi realized but is still unaware of how much he's invested into the sport already. This love for basketball came into full circle when he threatened to have a short-lived basketball career due to his injury, but he decided to continue despite knowing the consequence, knowing full well that if there's a moment of glory he's meant to take, it was this particular game, whatever the cost may be. Slam Dunk shows basketball in the perspective of different players and their motivations. Some do it for the girl, for redeeming themselves, for a lifelong dream, or for the pursuit of a greater version of themselves, among many others. It's a celebration of victory, the weight of each loss, and the journey between each endpoint, whether as a team or as an individual. Slam Dunk showcases the elements of a great sports manga with its straightforward premise, a balance of dramatic and comedic writing, characters that comes to life through their complexities and motivations, and an art that could transcend through different cultures and time and resonate to anyone who reads it, whether you choose to stay inside or outside of the court.